So I made a couple interesting claims yesterday, right? I said that like the Jewish religion was about breeding, and it was about like, and they didn't even know why they had their religion like that. It was like it's especially about rules for making sure that you don't breed bloodlines when you're trying to not inbreed, because like my clones and I like created this religion so that we could create a very smart, stable human race. And so one thing I wanted to mention is Abraham running around circumcising everyone. Like I saw Bono once on the Daily Show talking about how like circumcision's good for like sex safety and stuff. And my mom says the same thing, like it's easier to stay clean. And I think back then especially you really had to worry about staying clean. And so like people have advocated for circumcision to prevent STDs. But like there's also like you're not allowed to commit adultery and stuff like that. And so like there are some interesting things like related to like who like selling your daughter. Like you can sell your daughter as a slave, but like if she like tries to marry someone, then like or if they want to marry her, then there are rules. Like if he has his son marry her, there are rules. And then if he takes another wife other than her, there are rules. But like if he doesn't do those things, like then she's a general slave. But like he's not allowed to sell her to a foreign country. And so like there's stuff like that. I'm talking about in the Septuagint version of the Hebrew Bible. Like I looked up the Ten Commandments, and slavery is like twice in the Ten Commandments. You shouldn't covet your neighbor's slave or his female slave or his animals. Like when it's saying like do not like envy someone for having stuff. Like it literally says like don't envy them for their slave. One thing, like it doesn't say you're not allowed to lie. You're not allowed to lie in your testimony about another person. Like about like your neighbor, like you're not allowed to lie in a testimony. So it doesn't say you're not allowed to lie. It does say you're not allowed to take the Lord's name in vain. Izus, the one that no one knows, the one that everyone like disrespects all the time by using the wrong name for him. But like on the Sabbath, like you have to like let your slaves have a day off also. And there are a lot of rules about like if you punch your slave and like he goes blind, then you have to like let your slave go free. Like if you beat your slave too much, like but Sophia Izus sounds like they were beating him bad. Like they weren't even following the law, which the law of Moses, a lot of it feels like was about like making sure slaves aren't beat up too bad and stuff, and making sure that people didn't do terrible and making sure people don't like. If you cheat on your wife, next thing you know, you're breeding with your cousin and you're ruining the bloodline. So I've been talking about slavery in the Bible and in Quran times, or in just like the ancient world in general. And I've been talking about how it's kind of like hidden from like modern society. So I found this rule in Exodus, like which is right after the Ten Commandments. Like it gives the Ten Commandments and then it starts putting rules on slaves. And it says, like, if you buy a Hebrew servant for 6 years, he shall be subject to you. But in the 7th year, he shall go away a free person without obligation. If he comes in single, he shall go out single. But if a wife enters together with him, the wife also shall go out with him. But if the master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and children shall be his master's, but he shall go out single. Now, if the servant says in response, I have come to love my wife and child and children, I am not departing a free person, his master shall lead him to the door at the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with a small awl, and he shall be subject to him forever. All right, so clearly this is about Hebrew slaves specifically, and like it sounds like like there are people that are doing sex trafficking right now that like actually do see it as part of their religion. Like they see that like they're like legally allowed to, and like that like if they have me as a sex slave and I don't even realize I'm a slave, like, and then I have children, like they own my children. Like I think they really do see it that way. This part got very confusing when it says now if someone sells his own daughter as a domestic slave, and then but it sounds like he's talking about marrying his own daughter, which like I don't think makes sense, which means that this guy probably had trouble with the Greek because the Greek doesn't actually work. But if the master marries her, he can't like leave her and then sell her to a foreign country is what I think it's saying. But I think that like if he doesn't marry her, like if he takes a slave, like then or his son takes a slave, or if he like takes another wife, like he like as long as he doesn't do any of those things, he is allowed to sell her. But you're not allowed to kidnap Hebrew people only, like is the rule. Because back then I think that people did like sell slaves a lot. I think that like this once again is breeding rules, and because so many people were slaves. But like generally, like if you had a good master, like you don't know how much you want to keep your master. Like you definitely did, because like in Ali's right like sayings, like what it said is that like there are three different types of slaves. They're like the domestics, which are like those are the people that are like very high end slaves, and then there are the lower slaves. And to those people, Ali says, like, speak simply to him. In my last video, I ended kind of wrong. I said there were three types of slaves, but there were really two types of slaves. What he refers to, Ali, who was the writer of the Quran, who's from, like, right down the street from Jerusalem. He's from the same area. They could go there by boat pretty easily. Like, they knew those people. I think they refer to him as the Kafarina. That's just my guess. So, their religion was... They used the word Yeshua in Arabic. Like they didn't even know his name was Hosea. Like it was already covered up that much at that point. But Ali says there are two types of slaves, or he refers to two types of slaves. He says there's the average slave, and he says like treat them like, he basically says just be respectful towards them but cautious. And then there's the low slaves, which I don't think would be called a domestic. Like because he said, if someone sells his own daughter as a domestic slave. Like I think it sounds like like he would like he wouldn't be selling her into like harder slavery, which I think might be like outdoor like field work. It might be like I don't know, they had gladiators at one point that were slaves. Like I mean in Rome, which was much later than this. But my opinion is like hopefully. I don't know. I haven't heard about gladiators. Well, they were the Romans. These are the Romans. Like, what am I thinking? Because like I keep forgetting that Caligula was related to Herod Agrippa, who's related to Paul. Like they're brothers. They're all half brothers or something. And Paul, there are so many names for Paul. Apollos, Apollo, Apollon. We'll call him Apollo. Apollo was supposedly like the richest person ever. And I think that's because his relationship to the royal family of Rome, and they were Jewish people, and they followed the Jewish religion. That religion's like was a lot more powerful than people will ever tell us. Like I think like it was very related to the Egyptian religion, and that's why in Jesus' name, Amen, Amen, which we still don't know how to say Amen, but like I've been thinking about the Greek. And it's amen. So one thing Origen says I wanted to mention real quick. So you shall not revile gods and you shall not speak ill of your people's rulers. Like I was talking about contra Celsus and saying like you should probably like fear like foreign spirits or opposing spirits, opposing like gods according to Origen. Like that's basically like what it says, which would be like opposing like aliens that have access to certain technology and stuff like that. But they're not aliens. They're humans. Like the human race is based on us. But like they do have access to like certain like neural interface type technologies, and that's why you would fear foreign gods or foreign whatever. And that's it.